Greetings! I'm Tantus Narvan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. Today I'm getting back to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I talked about it a little bit before. I'm talking about it a little bit now. So we're going to get back sort of where we are. I'm going to finish up with all the things about classes, and as I've said before in previous videos of my new round of videos, I'm going to try to cut down a little bit of what I'm talking about to make it easier for me. I'm going to act less like I'm reciting the book, and more I'm giving you a general gist of the book, and you can look in details for yourself. So last time we talked about all the warrior classes. Today we're going to talk about the rest of the classes and any kind of special class rules. So let's start with it. Let's start with wizards. Now wizards, all of them get up to 9th level spells and a progression up to 20th level. Now there's basically the mages. Now the mages, you can just be a basic mage, sort of universal mage, but you can also be a specialist one, specializing in a school of magic. There are 8 schools of magic: abjuration, greater divination, conjuration/summoning, invocation/evocation, necromancy, alteration, enchantment/charm, and illusion. So you can choose one of these. Like if you choose illusion, you'd be an illusionist, and you can specialize in these schools of magic. Then there's schools of magic you can't use, and the spells will tell you what school it is. So you know, like, you'll know, like, oh, a fireball is an evocation spell. If I'm an evoker, I can use it. But if I'm this specialty, maybe I can't use evocation magic. Oh, I can't be access to that spell. Now mages tend to be intelligence-based. Now let's talk about the priest groups. There are 2 main ones here, the clerics and the druids. Clerics use wisdom, they're the easier one to play. Now priests' classes get up to 7th level spells. The cleric specializes in choosing some kind of deity. You can choose an exact deity if you're whatever world you're working in has them, or you can choose more of a conceptual deity that you serve, and it sort of alters your abilities slightly depending on that deity. A druid's a little harder to play, and they're more nature-based. They get a couple different things depending on, similar to like how you get some stuff for being a deity, they get stuff based on nature. You have to think of the druid as worshipping nature itself rather than a deity in nature, though a druid could have a deity. After that, we'll talk about the rogues. There are 2 types of rogues, thieves and bard. Now thieves, they're very dexterity-based, and they get a list of skills. Now all of those skills have a base percentage to use them successfully, that you'd roll and see if you get that percentage every time you use it. Now this is affected by your dexterity score, what kind of armor you're wearing, and your race. These would affect your base numbers. You need at least 1% in a skill to roll it. Now when you build your thief, you have 60 extra percentage points, which you can split between these. At maximum of 30 in any of those. So I could add 30 to this one and 30 to that one, or I could split it up however you want down the line. Every time you level, you gain another 30% where you can add those in, but this time you can only do 15 in each at maximum if you're splitting it between 2, or you can keep splitting it into smaller percentages. So 15 is the maximum you put in any one skill. Now rogues also get the ability to backstab, meaning if I get you from behind where you're not looking, I can do extra amounts of damage, and how high my level is depends on how much it is. It can go from ×2 up to ×4. Now next up is bards. Now bards, again, they have a little more requirements, but they get some arcane spells. They get up to 6th level spells. They also get a couple of things. They get some of the skills that a thief does, but not as all of them. They get some other abilities instead. They can counter magical music and poetry with their own abilities. They have a smatterings of knowledge that they can gain access to, that they might know something very easily that someone else wouldn't know. They can also influence folks, meaning they can make people more susceptible to you discussing things with them. Now after this, these are all the classes. I've sort of delved into them. We have to talk about multi-classing and dual classing. Multi-classing is for demi-humans, meaning anything that's not human, you can be a multi-class. What it is means you get the best of both classes. You get any different proficiencies, any special abilities. You average the amount of hit points you gain for hit dice for those classes. The disadvantage for being multi-class is a couple of things. You have to be a demi-human, and certain demi-humans can have certain multi-class templates. It might say that, like, whatever you are, you can only multi-class as a fighter thief. It could say that you have a couple of options if you're multi-classing. The other disadvantage, other than being restricted to what race you are and what classes you can take for the multi-classing, is the fact that it splits your experience evenly between your 2 classes. So effectively, you're leveling up of those 2 classes at the same time. It would split them evenly. So if you're like a fighter thief, you might level up your fighter faster, or fighter wizard. You know, your wizard will level up slower, than your fighter, so you might be higher level fighter, lower level thief, but it will eventually sort of even out and you'll figure everything out. After that is dual classing. Dual classing is something that only humans can do. Now what this says is I can take more than one class. How it works is you have to have a minimum of 15 in your primary ability for your first class and be second level before you choose to dual class. Then you have to have 17 in the primary stat of whatever dual class you're going into. So if I'm a fighter, I would need like a 15 strength and like a 17 intelligence to be a mage. Then you start taking levels in the other one, and your HP is the major thing affected by this, and they have rules in the book of how you can figure this out. But effectively, you can continue to do this. You can continue to smatter in classes. There is a disadvantage of it, as you're not going to have as much hit points. And that's the really big disadvantage of it, even though you can have this sort of combination of abilities that could help you out. Anyway, so that's it for today. I've talked about the rest of the classes and the specials for multi-classing and dual-classing rules in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Leave a comment if you have any questions, any kind of thing to ask about, any kind of comment for here. Please subscribe if you already haven't. We always look at more citizens of the Empire. And please share this video if you can think of anybody that could learn from it or be interested in it. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.